I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, you know, if you're going to do public nudity, perhaps the Indianapolis courthouse is not the best place to do it. Oh, hello, welcome to this morning's episode of Ask a Brit. This is volume 12 at this point, and we're going to keep it quite brief today because most of the questions I received this week were exactly the same. What do you think of the new Doctor? We'll be getting to that here very shortly, but if you're new to this game, it's not a game, it's real life. If you're new to this concept, Ask a Brit, the idea is that you ask me, a Brit, any question you like in the comments below this video or any of my videos using the hashtag AskABrit, so the # AskABrit, all one word, chunked together, and I'll hopefully answer that question in next week's episode. So to get us started today, I'm going to go ahead with the first question that came from last week, and this comes from Toby Fugit. And Toby asks, do you know who Larry the Cable Guy is? I'm familiar with the name, Toby. I believe this is the name of a character portrayed by Mr. Jim Carrey in The Cable Guy. It's a guess. No, I'm completely wrong about that. I'm told he is a, what is that? A comedian, a country comedian and singer. Brilliant. I'm probably going to get numerous amounts of hate mail now for not knowing fully who Larry the Cable Guy is. I don't like to make fan bases mad. So if you are mad, please go easy on me in the comments. Can we avoid questions that sort of incite hatred from fan bases? Next question is, do you watch Game of Thrones? How did that get in there? This comes from Louise T. I don't, Louise. I've never seen a single episode. Back away, back away. I'll get there eventually, right? I will catch up on all of the Game of Thrones episodes and everything starring Larry the Cable Guy, maybe. And we'll all have a good time and we'll all get along. But no, I've not yet seen or read Game of Thrones. I'm a Star Wars man. I mean, presumably you can be both, and they're not even comparable in many ways. Okay, I mean it this time. No more questions that'll start a war with fan bases out there. So what do you think of the new Doctor in Doctor Who? This one's good. Keep this. This one's good. What do I think of the new Doctor? For anyone not aware, last week a new performer was chosen to play the Doctor on Doctor Who, and for the first time in the show's history, the Doctor will be portrayed by a woman, Jodie Whittaker. And from what I can see from her performance in Broadchurch, which we've been into, I think it's a bloody marvellous choice. I mean, she can play sad really well. The Doctor has to do that at times. Can she play the laughs? You don't get a suggestion of that in Broadchurch. It's very, very sad. I'm not truly sure why some sections of the population have a qualm with the fact that she's female. It doesn't matter. And I think that having a female Doctor will add an enormous dynamic to the show that we've not yet had before, and that's always exciting. I'm all for change. I think that's why I like Doctor Who actually so much, because it's constantly changing and evolving. Okay, the next question comes from Just Really Bored. That's their YouTube name, I assume not their birth name. And they ask, have you had much vegetarian Indian food in the US? Also, how does it compare to British Indian food? I've had a lot of vegetarian Indian food since going veggie, and even before. Genuinely speaking, one of my favourite meals in the world is chana masala, which is an Indian dish that is filled with chickpeas, a masala with chickpeas in it. It's sort of a tantalising brown spicy version of mushy peas. It's, on reflection, it's nothing like that, but it is absolutely amazing. To answer the question on comparisons between the English version and American version of Indian takeaways or restaurant meals, there are differences. I think the one that really stands out to me is the spice level. If you ask for 10 out of 10 spice in England, then your mouth will explode. Not literally, that would be against health and safety. But in the US, it's milder, I think. Anyway, I could be exaggerating that. If I have any fans of Indian food in either country and who can do a compare and contrast, maybe you can argue with me on that, but I do feel like we do it spicier. Okay, 3 questions now from Lisa, who asks, firstly, regarding the fact that I replaced soda back in 2014 with coffee. Lisa asks, don't you get jittery? I do. The first few times that I had coffee, I got what I've come to call the coffee shakes. And this is where my hands were shaking, but I felt amazing. It's what I imagine it's like to take LSD, kind of, just without all the hallucinations. I've had that, and I've had it a couple of times since. If I drink coffee on an empty stomach, it absolutely kills me, but in the best way. But yeah, I definitely felt the jitters. Lisa also asks, have you ever had coffee milk? I've not. I've had coffee with milk, but I understand there is a distinction to be made here, that it's more like coffee-flavoured milk. I don't believe I've been down that road yet, Lisa, but if you want to suggest, some great coffee milk to me, I'll be on the lookout for it. once I get over the jitters. And your third question, can you say the word blackguard for me? That's spelt like this. Because I read it in my English romance novels, but don't know how it sounds. Well, it sounds like that, blackguard, right? Not blackguard. And do you know why that is? Because the English language. It's like in yesterday's video, right, when I was pronouncing Mackinac Island as Mackinac Island, because I'd only ever seen it written down. Thanks for pointing that out to me, by the way. I feel like a right prat. Or blackguard. The next question comes from Kylo Queso, who asks, do you have any stereotypes associated with the different American accents? Like when you hear a strong, deep, typically Georgian, southern accent, do you immediately think like redneck, probably not educated well, etc.? Not my words, the words of Kylo Queso, who sounds like a Sith Lord in many ways. But no, Kylo, I don't. I think, like with a lot of things, thinking in such terms is just adding to this sort of divisive language that we've become accustomed to in the United States and the world recently. And anybody who's a fan of my videos knows that I don't really play that game. I find it unhelpful to sort of just jump on a group of people based on where they're from and how they speak. I always have, same in my country of England. And flipping that point on its head, I'm actually quite enamoured with the southern accent. They just have this sound that I could listen to all day, you know. Sometimes I'm just, you know, sitting around and I slip into what I consider to be an awful attempt at a southern accent, but it gives me comfort because of that tendency towards softness. I don't know where I'm going with any of that, so I'll start right now and go back to my normal way of speaking. If I can come away from this question with anything, it's this. Let's enjoy each other's linguistic varieties, just as you often do with mine, and not deride them. Scootaloo, thank you for your question. I'm going to condense the question down just for the purposes of brevity. But basically, Scootaloo pointed out that Chicago is set to get, right, coming up, the biggest Starbucks in the world. It's going to be massive. It's going to look like this, okay? And essentially, Scootaloo's question is, do you see both you and your wife going to such a place on the Magnificent Mile and purchasing $10 coffee and taking selfies just to totally brag that you got to go to the Starbucks of all Starbucks locations and to totally rub it in the faces of everyone you know who likes Starbucks just for the absolute fun of it? I wouldn't rule it out, and in fact I'd be quite interested to see the largest Starbucks in the world, if only for the coffee museum that you reference. So I'm not sure if I'd go to the extent of bragging about a visit to it. If you gave me a choice over the sort of smaller coffee houses that I frequent in Chicago or Starbucks, I'd probably take the former over the latter. Rick Smith, I've noticed that you sometimes pronounce the R in words like word and first. I know from experience that most English people don't do that. Do you think that's something you picked up in America, or is it a feature of your regional, Grimsby, British accent? I think it's something I picked up in America because when I used to work in a call centre in the very early days of me living in the US, sometimes I'd be pronouncing words over the phone like 4, right? The number 4. And if I left the R off that word, people would have to ask me to repeat what I'd said 3 times, right? So I came to adopting that, and then it sort of found its way into other words where that letter is prevalent. And it sort of stuck because I was sort of paranoid that people didn't recognise what definition I was going for. And our final question from today comes from Catherine Louise, who asks, I've always heard that the drinking culture in the UK is more prevalent than in the US. Do you agree, and why do you think this is so? By the way, I'm typing this while enjoying a glass of wine. Don't blame you, I'm going to do that very thing right after this video, but that's because I'm from a country of alcoholics. I'm kidding, of course, but yes, there is more of a binge drinking culture, I would say anyway, in the UK. I'm not sure what I put that down to. I think that there's a lot you could merit it to. We start drinking at 18 legally. A lot of us get it out of our system, right? So we know we can drink at 18. We start drinking at university. We get it out of our system, and then by our mid-20s, hopefully by then anyway, we don't drink on anywhere near the level that we used to. Britain is a very densely populated country, you know, so maybe there's just sort of a more of a community feel in more places there, so it's sort of just more ingrained into the society. So I don't know, and it's hard for me, having not grown up in the US, to speak to the American side of things. Obviously here kids are starting to drink at the age of 21, right? Legally. I think there's more to it than that. I think here there's more of an emphasis on abstinence only when it comes to drink and other things, obviously. So if there is any kind of urge among people to binge drink here, it's sort of suppressed, perhaps, you know, or people are just better at handling their alcohol. But yeah, certainly the UK is better than America when it comes to binge drinking. If better is the correct word, it's probably not. That's it for this week's episode of Ask a Brit. My apologies to Larry the Cable Guy fans, Game of Thrones fans, and anybody who's a proponent of Starbucks. But like I said, if you have a question for me, go ahead and leave it in the comments box below this video or any of my videos and use the hashtag AskABrit. And don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. You can also follow me at my website at lostinthepond.com. Until next time, have a bloody wonderful week. Just not in front of the sheriff.